Hi there and welcome in. All right. So it's been a couple of weeks since I have released one of these episodes that are more soul centered. Like, let's talk about it. This is a story. This is something that happened or is happening or could happen. And how can you parallel that into your life? And how can it help you grow through some shadows or lean in to the light and the opportunities that you have in your energy or around you personally or collectively? And I will say that the title that I have in mind with this probably doesn't match the story that I'm going to begin this episode with, but bear with me because there's a reason behind it. At least I hope there is. Definitely letting this all download. There was no prep for this episode because that has been the chaos of my personal life recently. And it's a beautiful chaos. And the reason that it's beautiful is because a few weeks ago, my beautiful granddaughter, my first and only, made it Earthside. And I want to share with you a little bit about that experience of being in this spectrum, this field, the grandmother, not the mother, and how the environment that I was in and what that situation revealed to me, and how once I came up for air around this period of time and the eclipse season, paying really close attention to all of you, to the collective news, to my personal life, like how is all of this unfolding? And then seeing and witnessing what is unfolding. There's an awe inspiring, a lot of different ideas going around in my head, but I just want to start at the beginning. So I remember the moment that I found out that I was going to be a GG. And I swear to you, I felt like my soul vibrated, like this energy shot across the couple of feet between me and my daughter. And I just felt myself vibrating. We could call it energy, we could call it adrenaline, but I knew that motherhood is a path that you must walk alone. No matter how much support, how much love, how much compassion, how much you have prepared, there is physical and emotional and spiritual changes that you're going to endure. And as a mother wanting to protect my baby, of course, I was like, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. It could have been some of that, but it could have also been that I felt this powerful lineage, this legacy coming into existence. And then, of course, dipping into the shadow, into the fear that, okay, we have to get past this obstacle. And then this obstacle, we have to check this, we have to check that. And all through this pregnancy, I was praying hard, sending out all the intentions, watching the astrology like a hawk, understanding that more than likely I knew more than I should in most cases. And especially when we got down to, okay, we're at full term. This is about to happen. It's going to happen at any time. And then also being frustrated that no matter how beautiful and perfect astrology can be at times in predicting things, there are things that are left to the hands of our creator. We can make some great guesses, but when it comes down to it, no one knows. And I remember having my eye on a couple of different spaces and just feeling this anticipation. And for some of you who have followed me for a long time, this will be a little bit ironic. It's going to underline something that I talk about all the time. When my daughter texted me at 10:30 at night and said, "Hey, my water just broke," I was like, "Awesome. Oh, wow." And the reason I said that was because the moon was about to go void for 9.5 hours. So I knew, astrology, void moon of courses, not a lot happens during a void moon of course. We're supposed to process what's already happened, rest, relax, review, not begin anything new. So on one hand, I was thinking, you know what? We have all the time in the world. We have at least 9 hours. The hospital's 45 minutes away. Her husband's going to get her there. I'll get her puppies nice and safe. And then I'll meet her there. We'll be able to support her and I'll just sleep in a nice recliner in an uncomfortable hospital room all night long, and then we'll wake up and at 8 o'clock or just after 8 o'clock, the baby will be here. That was my intention, or that was my hope. But by the time, a couple hours later, I get to her, and because, they have to get you all settled and stuff. I had this, mother instinct, this anticipation, like where I knew voidment of courses all day long, but I also knew my daughter. And this child has Mars and Uranus conjunct in the first house. She does not do anything quietly. She goes from 0 to 360. And I had been contemplating this for almost 10 months now. Like, what is that going to look like? That's, I don't know if that's going to be a first time mother delivery. And my daughter also has a lot of medical background. So she doesn't really approach things as maybe some first time mothers would. She has that more clinical side. And she also has 6 planets in Virgo. So she's very detailed. I digress. But right as we are quote unquote getting there, getting settled, not really knowing what the night's going to be, a test came back that out of nowhere, this child of mine, this young woman of mine, was anemic. And I have to tell you that I was at that moment wondering if I had predicted this or attracted this, because this is one of my fears. She's never been anemic before, but all the things that goes into child labor, I was thinking to myself, mercy, okay, what is the solution? That is the problem. What is the solution? So throughout this night, I'm not going to share every vivid detail of it. It felt as if it went by in a blink of an eye. My daughter, her husband, myself, every time one problem was resolved, another one came up. It was a very restless, no, by no means relaxing. And it was kind of comical because some of these nurses were just expecting that this first time mother was going to sit in there and be a little bit uncomfortable throughout the night, but it was going to be the next shift's issue because she would deliver deep into the next day because she was a first time mother. Again, I know that she had Mars and Uranus conjunct in the first house. It was a fast, fast progression. It went from water broke to wow, we are here like a seasoned mom. And then by the time the sun rose, and it was a very misty, kind of foggy, must have rained at some point, there was this haze over everything. It was a little bit of a stillness, very, very true to the void moon. Well, predicting or manifesting it right as that hour came along, my daughter got more restless. Everyone started to come in. They knew that it was time, and I was not going to be in that room. I had to leave my girl, go down the hallway, gonna go down another hallway and sit, and it was a moment that I don't think I could ever, as a writer, as a speaker, ever truly capture, because at this point, I had been up for close to 30 hours. I had adrenaline pumping through me, I had cortisol pumping through me, and I was trying to pull and scratch, and every single spiritual practice that I had to calm down and to be present and to send all this positive energy to this huge threshold that my daughter was crossing. Because there's this quote that says, the veil between heaven and earth is the thinnest in the delivery room. It hadn't sat with me for months, but I sat there and I did a lot of praying. And I also had flashes of every moment of my daughter's life, her resilience, her brilliance, her courage, the energy. I can't even describe what I was pulling through, what I was holding on to. But that same vibration, when I found out that I was going to be a grandmother, was right there with me. And I was really deep into an attempted meditation. I don't know if I was actually meditating because my mind and the visions were going really fast. And in there, I heard this deep, like Southern, I'm Southern, we're in the South, voice kind of reminded me of my grandfather on the pulpit saying something to the effect of, to be a courageous, humble servant, divinely protected and guided on your path. Have no fear, you are blessed. And I was struggling to hold on to these words, trying to figure out where they were coming from. And then someone that must have walked up beside me because I probably looked crazy. I'm short, trying to balance on this bench, kind of rocking a little bit as I'm in this meditation prayer. But I heard someone ask somebody something beside me, and I came into focus. And as I came into focus, I realized that that was a prayer that was going across the intercom throughout this entire hospital, that it was just something that they did. But the fact that it was more than likely routine for them didn't really resonate with me until later because I was looking at my clock and I knew the moon had shifted. I knew exactly what moment it was as that was said. And I didn't know for sure that my granddaughter had taken her first breath, but I felt that vibration. I felt that power come in to that moment. And just a few minutes later, my son-in-law texted me. They're both fine. I had a beautiful picture. And all that was left for me to do was wait in that moment and kind of let the energy settle, let them have their time, let them step into this new threshold, this new life. And over the next couple of days, I was in an environment that I'm not used to being in. I live on a farm in a not really, I wouldn't call it rural. A lot of you would probably call it rural, but a pretty rural area. I see basically the same people or go to the same locations when I do go, but I was in a definitely a busier place. It was massive. It could have been its own city in certain places. But as I would arrive at this place or leave or just kind of walk around and just be present, I have this tendency to pick up on energy around me. You don't have to tell me how you're feeling. I don't know if I see it. I don't know if I read it, but I feel it. So sometimes when I'm in places like this, it can be just a little bit overwhelming. I was there celebrating a birth. I was there celebrating a new life. I had a healthy mother. I had a healthy baby. I had a happy family. But I knew that that was not the case for everyone that was underneath that roof. As I would pass through these massive open entryways that were designed to help you stay calm and be present and let you know that you were taken care of. I could see the look on people's faces. Some people loved their jobs. Some people were overworked and stressed. Some people were showing up refreshed, ready to do something. There was people that were walking in for planned procedures. There were people that were completely rocked off their socks, not even sure how they got there. There were people getting news that was going to change their life forever. And with that realization, I narrowed in on that threshold, that moment between life and death, that moment when nothing else matters. Now, if we're going to pick apart my story and my argument, we could definitely say that economics and upbringing and habits and et cetera brought all of these individuals to this situation. And if something else was changed and this was done, da 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 da, they wouldn't have been here. I'm not talking about what led any soul to the position that they're in now or were in then of birth, or that moment of not knowing what's next, not knowing what that position is going to say to you, the look on their face, trying to read their energy, trying to understand, okay, is this the line, that threshold between life and death? And as I reflected on that, on the ending, on the beginning, I realized that nothing else truly mattered. All the stress, all the anger, all the jealousy, all the hate, all the I wish I had more. This was dealt unfairly to me. Everything, every little thing that we let ourselves get stressed out about, wrapped up in, consumed with, all that energy that seeps down into our tissues, into our emotion, and then becomes something that we magnetize and attract us. It did not matter in that moment because you were at a threshold between the end and the beginning. And what my point is, and it definitely sounded more lyrical and beautiful as it was coasting around in my thoughts over the last couple of weeks, is that if we could all stay in that appreciation, in that grip, in that anticipation of I'm alive. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to be here. I want to be alive. None of that other stuff matters. That negativity, that harshness, I forgive. I forget. It does not matter. What matters is life. What matters is that I knew you, that I loved you, that I appreciated you, that you taught me something, even if it was not something that I wanted to learn in that moment. You gave me the experience. You were part of this conscious experience. That was a rich thing to hold on to, understanding and appreciating how powerful our energy is. So over the last couple of weeks, and maybe even a few weeks before this occurred, I was really working on what I allowed into my sphere. And one thing that I did not want to have in my sphere was negativity or hate. And I know that you cannot live on this planet. You cannot exist without seeing negativity. I have literally sat on my back porch writing horoscopes or contemplating a horoscope and realizing that it was some kind of Mars square something horoscope and thinking, well, I'm glad I'm by myself because that one looks harsh. And then I would see two little hummingbirds fighting for control over one little feeder, even though there was three feeders for them. My point is the energy is there. I'm not naive. There is negative energy and there is positive energy, but what you choose to pay attention to is what you are going to call into your life. It's what you're going to pull into your sphere. And the irony is, most of the time you're pulling things in and you don't even know that you're pulling them in. And they seep down into your subconscious and your unconscious actions or reactions and triggers that you have. And it's just a messy wheel. And it was a wheel that I wanted to get off long before this life experience happened. And it was more than likely that desire to get off of it that inspired me to notice the real life fleshy people around me. And I'm saying real life fleshy people because I'm not usually around thousands upon thousands of people. I don't really sit at that many red lights. And for me, that's a blessing. For some people, that would be horrid. They would want to be in the vibe around energy, but I chose, manifested, and worked to kind of be in this space where I can reflect on who I am and what I want to bring forth. And I'm still unpacking that. And I'm going to unpack it over and over and over until I am at that threshold. But I do know that after what I just experienced at that threshold, when you have no idea what's going to happen next. You can have all the faith, you can have all the education, you can have any spiritual practice that you want. I don't care what you have in your toolkit. There is this space when it doesn't matter. Whatever has made you furious, angry, whatever has hurt your heart, whatever has made you envious or jealous, wherever you have felt slighted and shut out in some way or another, there will be a moment. And it may only be a few seconds because some of us hold on to it to the very end where it's just not going to matter. What will matter is the infinite love in your energy, the awareness of how powerful and how beautiful and on purpose and on time that you are. And in this process of understanding that moment, you may have regrets. Everyone has regrets. I should have been kinder in this point. I wish I was this. Why did I let that get to me? Why did I spend so much time wrapped in fear and anxiety? Why did I care what they thought? And often when we are fans of astrology or we lean into astrology, we're like, oh, permission slip. I have this placement. That's why I have an anxiety around this. And so be it. But just because you have that placement and that quote unquote permission slip to be the most authentic person that you can be, because you're the only person with this chart, you're still charged with the opportunity to work with the higher and the lower vibration of that energy. So I'm going to challenge you as we move into the second part of this episode that will match more so the title than the first part. I just wanted to display the richness of life and how precious it is, and how at any moment and any second, nothing else is going to matter. Nothing else will matter. What you're holding on to will not matter. So I came up for air because of the eclipses. Just wanted to check on all of y'all. I think I mentioned that before. Wanted to see, what's happening in the world. And not surprisingly, a lot of it is still the same. There is still a lot of division. There is still a lot of blame. There is still a lot of hate. And more than anything, there is an echo chamber that continuously points out a duality that is almost absurd, because when you really think about consciousness and you think about energy, and I think I've said this before, you probably heard it, it's probably on a meme somewhere. What you love or dislike about something or someone else is a reflection of you. So all this rage that we witness people put out into the world, whether they're putting it out to a fleshy person face to face or they're doing it into a screen or device, is a reflection and a mirror of them. And we've gotten into this habit of where we see something and we're like, yes, yes, I'm on board with that. And we will repost and share it and say it again, hold it in our minds, hold it in our energy without validating it, without understanding the full context or the multiple layers, without understanding or appreciating that that's a human being on every side of every situation. And I will tell you that it is my goal, not only in this public facing life, but also in my outer friend circles, that you can't really call what side of the coin per se that I may or may not be on. And the reason that I do that on the public facing side is because I love all of you. And I know that every single one of us are wrong and right. And it depends on the perspective and how we're approaching it and the context. And though at a core belief, I may strongly disagree with whatever approach you're taking, my goal is not to feed into the hate, not to feed into the division. I would never want to block off someone that I could help or inspire in one way or another with a book, with something I said, some kind of, hey, watch out for this transit. I would never want to block someone that I can inspire just because I fell on this side of their scoreboard. And my personal opinion is that it's dangerous for anyone who does choose to say, I'm only going to help you if you believe the way that I believe. That's my conviction. And I had something else in my head that I wanted to share with you. I'm not really sure how it would fit. So I'm just going to throw it in the middle of this. I remember when I was little, very little, when I was around a lot of people, like I was during this whole experience, I would have this moral clinch in my gut because sometimes I wasn't always in the safest places or around the safest situations. It could be something like I was walking home from school and I hadn't even approached my home. There wasn't even anything outside of my home that would tell me that there was danger, but I would feel this clutch in my gut. And then I would know I learned that my parents may have had a horrible fight. There may be a horrible fight or some disagreement going on inside the house that was preparing me. Or it was this clutch in my gut to not sit at this table, but to sit at that table, to go right instead of left, to look at someone who was smiling kindly at me and telling me something, but realizing, hey, I need this boundary. There was this moral compass, this literally gut clenching thing that would tell me, okay, this is morally right and this is morally wrong. This feels good. This feels aligned and this doesn't. And that is the compass that I follow. And I think that that is the reason that and sometimes I can take that Aquarian view. I appreciate you. I respect you. I will have a conversation with you. I'll listen to your passion. I understand that you have it for a reason. But what I want to inspire, and I think a lot of people out there are trying to inspire it, it's very difficult because the echo chamber is so loud, is that we are focusing on the problem and we are not giving any solutions. We are repeating issues and not activating solutions. We are looking outside instead of inside. So, in theory, if we take the time and we find something that upsets us and we ask ourselves, why does that upset us? And then we ask the question again and we go deeper and we go deeper and deeper and we meditate on it, we journal on it, we'll find the trigger. And once we understand why it upsets us so much, then we're likely to find a solution. Not a way to suppress the symptoms, not a way to shove it down into the subconscious, but we're going to say, you know what, this is the issue. What do I have? What do I need to go learn? What do I need to buy or purchase or whatever? But what do I have right now inside of me, in my reach, that I can use to make a positive difference in what I see is incorrect? Because when we get into those situations where it's tit for tat, you did this, but we did this. We are not the same. You did this, we did this. Or haha, now you get yours. Or there you go. This is even. Nothing is ever even. And the reason that it's never even is because nobody is keeping score. This is not a game. When we get to the end of the road, no one's going to say, in duality, side A did this many infractions. Side B did this many. Side C did this many. And side A, B, and C, these are all the good things they did. So the winner of the life of game is this. That's not going to happen. So keeping score is doing nothing but facilitating the darker vibration of things that we don't want to see personally or collectively. So of course, I tied all of this back to astrology. I wanted to understand where these energies were and look for where they're starting to reveal themselves in the collective, because we do have some, I'll say interesting to keep it on the positive side, of energies coming in, and how you react to them, how they impact your chart is going to make all the difference, because your energy, I'll sidetrack here too, when we're talking about the tools that you have. Sometimes when you see a situation that angers you or makes you happy or inspires, like that's my cause, sometimes the only thing that you can do is to pray about it or to meditate on it or to send a great intention. And some people feel like that's not enough. But the power of intention, the power of collective meditation, the power of collective prayer, it has been measured in the quantum fields. That is super powerful. It's more powerful than you resharing something. It's more powerful than you participating in the echo chamber. So I would challenge you to understand how powerful your energy is before we get into the astrology, and ask yourself, how can I lean into something that I support? How can I bring the higher vibration into this? Because if you are looking for hate, if you're looking for a way to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that's not the solution. And that's a karma that you're going to hold on to. Karma's not good or bad. I'm definitely not preaching fear here. Do this or you're going to have this doom. I'm telling you that the energy that you put out, it comes back. So if you put out love, if you put out positive intention, if you put out the call to help me understand this, then you're going to find those answers come back. You're going to find love come back. You're going to find the intention. And I'm not just talking about the collective world by any means. I'm talking about the people that you love and care about, the people that you speak to every day, the person that you don't get along with at work, the person that is challenging you, this hardcore boss, this person that you let get under your skin and produce all this cortisol in your body, which produces all these other reactions inside of your temple. I'm talking about everyday things. And it may be that the mindless scroll that you have on your devices or the media or the information that you are allowing to come into your sphere is just feeding in to that vibration. Is that the vibration that you want? What could you find in nature? What could you find in silence? What could you find in just a few minutes of meditation every day? How could you tap in to that inner voice? All right, so I'll get off that soapbox and tie us back to astrology for those of you who are still with me. All right. So I wanted to really think about the vibrations of all the planets because every single planet, including Jupiter and Venus, have a higher and a lower vibration. But when I think about this topic, four planets come to mind, and they're all activated in one way or another. So Mars obviously comes to mind quickly, doesn't it? Because Mars is aggression and anger. So the higher vibration of Mars is courage, motivation, and drive. Like I'm gonna do this. I'm on fire about this. I have so much passion. The lower vibration of Mars is violence and hostility and resentment and revenge. Like something eats at you so much and you can't stop thinking about it. And you just have to go in a certain direction. And that shadow can definitely be unhealthy if it goes unchecked. And I'm going to side note here. I'm sorry. There's just a lot of things just popping in my head right now. The thing about negativity and positivity when it comes to hate, I think one of the reasons it's so addictive is because it's so easy to find people that hate the same thing that you hate. If you hate things, I hate is a strong word. I was never allowed to say it growing up, and I really don't let my kids say it either. And they're not even kids; they're adults. But it's easy to find people that don't like what you don't like because it's drama. Let's talk about it. Let's complain about it. Let's bitch about this. Hell, this sucks. But it's very difficult to find people that love the same things that you love. Like, "Oh, I love this. It's so beautiful." And you're like, "Oh, shut up. I'm over here so stressed out." And you're talking about how much you love that and how beautiful it is. Please get off. Stop it. Like, we don't care. We're upset. Come be upset with us. It's easy to lean in to that shadow. It's alluring. It's addictive. Oh, wow. Let's talk about it. And if you're really good at pointing out things that's wrong, it's really addictive. So I think that's another issue that we have. All right. So Saturn is another one that I brought in this vibration of division that we have here. So the high vibration of Saturn, where you have Saturn in your chart, is where you will be masterful in your life. It comes later in life. Some of us get it younger, but it's definitely where you're going to be a master. And the way that we become masters is by moving through challenges. The higher vibration is responsibility and mastery and discipline. The lower vibration of Saturn is harsh judgment. It's coldness, it's bitterness, it's cruelty. It's where this hate and this fear can arise with this rigid energy. And something that came to mind when I was thinking about this is I have younger children around my home. And there are times where we have to make sure that we turn on the kids channel, that Scooby Doo is not on, or the Little Mermaid scene of the evil witch is skipped over or blocked out because we don't want that to be in their subconscious. We don't want that to imprint them. And I was thinking the other day, wow, how do we go from censoring it at this age to the nonstop impressions that we're getting day in and day out, or at least I am as an adult, where we could be so desensitized that we can see a graphic and horrid image of anything happening and either not care, doesn't even phase you, or actually find elation in it. That's another thought that came in with this. Now, of course, I think you're probably thinking Pluto could bring or fuel this darkness. Because Pluto does have to do with power struggles and obsession. We obsess over something. If someone triggers something in us, if there's this jealousy or this resentment or this hatred or this agony or these people are crazy or I can't believe they did that to me. It can really give you an obsessive thought. And once you start obsessing over that, the universe answers your command. You will see every reason to be upset about that. It's going to call it in a little bit deeper. Yep, I'm validated. But the higher vibration of Pluto, it's all about transformation, growing through that, empowering yourself, having that deep seated healing. Like I went through that, but I survived. And because I survived that, I am thriving. I'm going in this new direction. But the lower vibration of this energy, again, obsession, that's a wicked one. I'm a Scorpio telling you that obsession, there's that quote that says the mind is a beautiful servant and a horrible master. Obsession, yes, that's where the mind is in control and you want to be the observer. You don't want the mind running it. So it can also lead to control and manipulation and destruction. So this can definitely help you consume hatred. Now here's another planet. This may shock you, but it's Mercury. Now, Mercury is a dual planet. It's all about duality, this and that. But it can definitely give you a mental fixation and twisted words. The higher vibration of Mercury is conversation. Like, let's have a conversation about this. Curiosity is also something in the higher vibration of Mercury. Why do you feel that way? Why did you do that? How did you get there? And when you ask those questions, you may be inspired and find a reflection in your life. You may go in that direction, or you take your piece and you put it with their piece and you find this whole new intellectual way of looking at something. But the lower vibration of Mercury is lies. It's hateful speech. It's mental loops. It can spread hate through words, through gossip, through decisive narratives. And there was big news that broke across this eclipse season. And within seconds of this news breaking, in seconds, if you watched, and I'm telling you guys, I avoided this for months. So I definitely felt awash with, I'm glad I avoided this before. But within seconds on X or YouTube or Facebook, the whole story, they weren't even finished telling the story. There was already memes that they're on this team, we're on this team. Hi. Some of those creators may have thought they were being funny. Some of them may have thought they were being validated, etc. But that's the lower vibration of Mercury. And a lot of creators just parrot what they've seen other people say. And then that's where you get that whole telephone game. And then there's this misinformation out there. But that misinformation was so powerful and so strong and so gut wrenching that it provoked this positive thought or this negative thought. And because it provoked it, there's an attraction, there's a magnetism, there's this collective call for more of it to come in. It's messy when we get into those lower vibrations. And all throughout this eclipse season, not with just some of the more popular news stories, but some of the personal news stories that I've heard. And even honestly, way back in like 19 and 20, there was this verse that I remembered. I'm not going to tell you the Bible story, but you can look it up if you want, if you prefer. But it's John 8:7. And it says, "He who is without sin, let him cast the first stone." And that's one of the ones that I lean on as well when it comes to me sharing my views. I think it's healthy to share your views. I'm not telling anyone not to share your views. Freedom of speech, saying what you mean, meaning what you say, being out there and being public, that is super, super healthy. However, more than likely, and you'll have to check with your own morals, I'm not here to tell you which way it is, there's a way to do it. And this verse has always helped me understand that. He who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. So throughout this week, I want you to reflect back on conversations that you've had in your personal life, maybe conversations you've seen online, and if they were kind or if they were unkind, and how would that verse wrap around it? Was that person in judgment? And are they without sin? Have you met anyone without a flaw? I haven't. And even if you are an individual that says, I don't have any flaws, not in this area of my life. This is something I powerfully believe and I am behind and I am aligned. I am morally in check. I'm karmically in check. This is righteous and that is crazy. If that's how you feel, perfect, but there's somewhere in your field where there may be a flaw. So definitely we are not without our own flaws. And if we understand and respect that, then that helps us understand everything else on a new level. And I'm not trying to get too preachy here, but I just want to go back through those planets with that verse in mind. So with Saturn, this verse mirrors the Saturnian lessons. Before judging others, look at your own lessons. True authority comes from humility, not from punishing others or celebrating someone else's crisis or hard time. With the Pluto's shadow is that desire to stone. Like when you look at the verse, to actually say, okay, you hurt me, I hurt you. It's to destroy what we fear and don't understand. And in this verse, we're redirecting that energy inward and we're being asked to transform ourselves instead of the situation. So when we look at Mars and this verse, he who was without sin, let him cast the first stone. That crowd was Mars. They were inflamed with rage, ready to throw the stones. That's what they were supposed to do. They found a whole bunch of people that hated the same thing that they hated. And if they could hate this, they didn't have to think about all the other things that they were working on. So they were going to go in that direction. But when the invitation was to pause and to reflect, that showed true courage. And it also showed restraint. Mars is a courage that knows when to take action. And if we were to look at it in the Neptune perspective, which is not something that I mentioned before, but I do have some notes about Saturn and Neptune in retrograde, the eclipse, and an upcoming transit that we're going to get to. I promise this is not going to be long and drawn down. But with Neptune, if we look at this verse, Neptune dissolves the illusion of superiority. It reminds us that we're all human and love, not hate, is the highest calling that we have. And is the reason that we are here, that we are experiencing the consciousness that we are experiencing. So, with this, Saturn, don't judge without seeing your own shadow. Pluto, transform through the truth, not destruction. And Mars, have the courage to put the stone down. And Neptune, choose compassion and unity instead of hate, no matter what side we're talking about here. Now, the reason that I had Neptune in there is because I had told you guys in several of the forecasts that we're stepping into what could feel a bit like a spiritual test as we have Saturn and Neptune move back into Pisces. And the reason I said that is because those two planets are trying to wrap up business in Pisces. And Pisces is a very interesting sign. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but it's very mystical. It's that energy that says that we are all one. Whether I like you or dislike you, we are all one. I have compassion, but sometimes that can be a little bit too much for me. So I have to escape. But Saturn in this area of our lives was teaching us to have a spiritual boundary, to understand that I can have empathy for you. I can sit down at the table and have a conversation with you, but not be consumed with your energy. This is great for energy workers. This is great for anyone who works with any human being on the planet. Let me be present in my energy and understand your energy. And with Neptune, Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. It's very spiritual, it's metaphysical. It asks us to trust the illusion. There's even a very wise quote that I won't remember in the astrology world that says that Saturn is a planet that says this is reality, and Neptune is a planet that says there never was a reality. This is a dream. But with Neptune in this area, the lower vibration of it is going to show us there was illusions. We let ourselves get carried away with this. We let ourselves get mystified by this. Wow, I was really angry or happy or didn't really care about this. But why? Why did I not care? Where did I let the illusion take me? But the higher vibration of Neptune and the spiritual test that we're stepping into as these two planets go backwards is to have faith in something that we can't see, but we can feel. Like, have faith that you can manifest the life that you want to manifest. So I would invite you to look at where these two planets are in your chart. I would also ask you to look at the Pisces and Aries axis in your chart and notice what stories are coming up for you there. Now, we are also in eclipse season, and Pisces is brought into that same energy. Not the exact same degrees for some of the retrogrades I'm talking about, but we had a lunar eclipse, a total lunar eclipse at 15 degrees Pisces on September the 7th. That was talked about in your forecast. And then we're going to have a partial solar eclipse on the 21st in Virgo at 29 degrees coming up. So there's big endings and big beginnings happening on that Virgo and Pisces axis. I would invite you to contemplate on what you're asked to let go of and what you're asked to trust and reach for. That's personally and collectively. All right. So one last transit that I wanted to talk about outside of the eclipses and the spiritual test that we have is coming up on the 24th. I'm sure you're going to hear me talk more about it in some form or another, but it's Mars square Pluto. And one of the reasons I want to talk about this one early is because you always feel Mars on the incline. It's like this rolling thunder, the stampede of hooves of horses running across the field. You know it's coming before it's there. You're enduring whatever it's bringing before it punctuates, and then it punctuates at that point. And I think that more than likely in these areas of your life, the Aquarian area, or Aquarian represents our humanity, our community, and then Scorpio is going to be the depths of it, the undercurrents of things. You're starting to see this consciousness, this awareness that you have to have about this energy. So I think you're already in it. And I think that there's probably going to be some fear mongering out there. Hey, if you have any fixed placement, Scorpio, Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, watch out. We're all going to feel this. If you want to look for fear and you want to look for tension, then I'm definitely not going to stop you. I think you're going to find a way to attract those things into your life. But this energy can be benevolent. It can give you the courage that you need to make transformational change in the way that you handle your personal energy and your power. So one thing I would ask you, do you feel growing tension right now? Does it feel like something old in your life has to break free so something else can rise? You feel like you're trapped inside of this identity, even though it doesn't feel like it fits anymore. Like the pot for the plant is too small, the shoes are too small or too big or whatever. You have to change out of something. It's not you anymore. This transit will bring you pressure around that kind of element, but also a lot of emotional, raw will. That's Mars and Scorpio, and radical transformation on a large scale. That's Pluto and Aquarius. This is humanity. It pushes us to face what is hidden and reclaim our personal power and challenge outdated systems and alliances that we have. Why are we okay with this? And that goes back to something that I was talking about earlier in this episode. It's easy to find people who hate what you hate. It's easy to echo something that felt like it was right on time. You saw it, you want to say it again. It's easy to spread gossip and information. If I talk about your problems, I don't have to worry about my problems. It's hard to do the opposite. And I honestly think that a lot of you that follow me are really good at doing the opposite. I truly do. Because I think if you're already on this path of trying to look within and co create, then you've encountered something somewhere in your existence, or maybe you're just born with it that has made you question things and has invited you to look within to unravel the shadow and dance with it instead of being oppressed by it or take a knee to it. But the square itself, Mars is a traditional ruler of Scorpio, Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. There's just a lot of dark, swampy energy that's coming up here. But the square brings conscious actions. We can't ignore it. We cannot be comfortable any longer with what's happening. We have to change it. We have to change something. And I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, a 99.9% chance this change is inside of you. You have to change it there first. So some things that you would want to look for this transit, there could be some power struggles and some emotional intensity. Mars in Scorpio is driven anyways. It's very strategic, but it's also fearless. Now, Pluto in Aquarius is going to challenge the collective status quo, and it doesn't mind breaking the rules to build better ones. So together, this can lead to a battle of wills or manipulation or uncovering deep psychological patterns that you have. What are you bringing into your energy field? And it's also an invitation to be mindful who is really in control and what does it cost you to surrender your power to them. We can also look for breakthroughs in truth and in transformation. It's a good time to strip longstanding emotional patterns that we have that are no longer serving our growth. If you feel triggered, try asking yourself, what is this trying to teach me about myself? And trust that transformation is possible. This could also bring in some obsessive focus of our drive and wherever these areas are in your chart. You can feel hyper focused on a goal or a mission, maybe even a person. And that could feel powerful, but it could also be destructive. And I'll tell you, as you go through this transit, and we fold over the spiritual test of those big outer planets, Neptune and Saturn going into retrograde, and we fold over the eclipse season, you may find that you have to remove something. You have to let it go. There could be someone that you're like, you know what, this person has too much hate or too much disdain, and I love them. I don't love their actions, but I love them. But I'm going to put a little spiritual boundary up here. And one day we may come back together. But right now, I'm going to put that spiritual boundary up. And that doesn't need to be a fight. It could be simply changing it to where you don't see them online. And if it's someone at work and you have to see them, it could be that instead of focusing on where they are in the office or where they are in the building, focusing on something or someone that you like. There's a way to use your energy and your focus to change and transform the life around you. All right. So I know that this episode was truly all over the place. My life has felt like it's been all over the place for the last 6 weeks, but I just wanted to touch down and hopefully inspire you. I know it's a very challenging time, no matter what you are focused on, no matter what you're zoned in on. But I want to roll back to the beginning of this episode to where new life, a beautiful soul, a brand new chart debuted Earthside. And in those following days, being around people who were at different thresholds, maybe not as positive, maybe not the same type of story. They were at endings. They were at a crossroads. They were at a point where they had to make certain decisions about what to do next. And in those moments, those decisions, that energy, all of this turmoil that feels bigger than you, feels more powerful than you, didn't matter. It didn't matter because they were present and they were understanding and appreciating how precious and beautiful life is. And that the hate or the disdain or any of the negative low vibrations that we have, the irony of it, the karma of it is that the only person it hurts is you. It gets embedded in your subconscious, it gets embedded in your tissues, it gets embedded in your energy and your vibration, and it's something that you attract. And you were designed to love. There is so much beautiful energy in you. There's a purpose. If you are here, if you have breath in your lungs, you have purpose. You are needed here. And you are a vibration, a consciousness of love that the world needs. So if you're in a hard time right now, if you're in the middle of a victory right now, If you are looking at the world around you going, how in the hell did I get here? What is going on? I invite you to reflect on what really matters. And if you can focus on that little seed, that little tiny mustard seed of this matters, this is what I love, this is what really is important, you're going to grow. You're going to grow that light, you're going to grow that energy, and you're going to start to see people, places, and things vanish. They're going to disappear. And it's not that they're not important. They have their own reasons, they have their own convictions and their beliefs. They have their right to have them. But the message is to radiate your light and your love. And love and hate cannot exist together. As we move forward, there's some pretty challenging energies. Just remember what really matters. All right. I'll talk to you next time.